Yeah, Matt, you need to come with your shirt just so contrast with your background. It's just not even close, man. I'm
You
just
didn't
telling
solid
you.
colors, you said.
Well, okay, but I mean, anyway.
Explain it
Anyhow.
after.
All
We're
right.
good.
Well,
We're live.
okay, ready to go? Folks, welcome to the Patriot Cafe and the Second Revolution. If you're wondering about my look, I'm going to try to share some wisdom from Thomas Jefferson. So I kind of got the look tonight, that colonial revolutionary look. Let me welcome my co-host Chris. Chris, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, Woody.
All right. All right, and Matt, our
Matt Farg, your conspiracy investigator at large.
There you go, man. There you go. Hey guys, do I look the colonial part or what? Huh?
I think so.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a little fun tonight. So I just got this thing. You know, it's Halloween, folks, and but it looks pretty good. I think.
About Halloween.
Kind of got that colonial look. And anyway, let's dive into the issues, guys. So. Chris, why don't you start us off, buddy?
John Roberts. John Roberts again just went with the liberals, giving Pennsylvania a 3-day extension until the Friday after the election for the ballots to come in. I just don't understand what we have an election day for a reason. That's it. That's election day. I can understand absentee ballots. I can understand extending the time before it, but why is that not a hard and fast cutoff date? What is this? We just extend it until Democrats win? What, we count votes until they win?
Well, let me ask this. Have you heard any report on registration there? You know, Republicans versus Democrats, because who knows? I mean, it could go in our favor as well. We're assuming it's not going to go in our favor, but who's to say that this won't go in our favor?
Well, I mean, there's only, I don't know what the numbers are saying. It seems that the Democrats aren't at numbers from early voting that they would like to be. They'd like to be a lot higher because we're anticipating a pretty heavy wave of Republicans on election day, and they're not ahead of 2016 numbers. And so also they may have sent in early enough. I mean, I don't know. What I do know is if he wins big enough on election day, I mean, there's a certain threshold a candidate reaches where there's just not enough votes around for the other side to win.
How much did he win Pennsylvania by last time? Do you remember?
Don't remember. I don't remember being a heck of a lot though.
Matt, you're our kind of got our.
Oh my gosh! Well,
details. Do you remember?
I have a long list of topics to cover, but first, to answer Chris's question, maybe Florida could answer his question. As for other news, oh my gosh, so many Trump supporters are being assaulted. At Women's March, supporters assault a pro-lifer. First, a pro-life girl in her early 20s saw a woman that's like old enough to be her grandma, but she thought she was physically weak, so she didn't want to fight back when she took her flag. So she beat her and choked her, and she went to the hospital.
Okay. All right, but on the positive side, Trump's doing what, two rallies a day now, huge crowds. I'm telling you guys, I think there's there's that negative side of it. You're right, Matt, but there's a movement going that is so passionate. I mean, I don't know whether you guys have had a chance to watch any of the rallies. I've been trying to catch each one. Huh?
Huge crowds. And then people in California lining the roads in California
that's
with
what
flags.
I mean. Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was seeing, you know, you look at the polls back 2016, and the spread was the same back then, but the and I don't know whether this is any of what you've got, Matt, but are you seeing anything where it's indicative that just the national polls or the polls they're throwing up there, maybe one statistic I saw is that something like only 1 in 5 voters who are voting Trump are even willing to take the poll. Did you guys see anything like that, Matt?
I saw similar news articles. I've seen similar ones. Yeah, but do you want these things are telling you? The silent majority is no longer silent.
Right.
No longer silent, but at the same time, they don't seem to be anxious to tell a pollster how they feel. That's
there was a National Review article, and the outlier pollsters, the Trafalgar Group, and they've been right a lot since 2016. They were right in 2016, and they have Trump ahead now. They have a totally different methodology. Some of the secret sauce they don't release on what they do. They ask different questions. They ask fewer questions. They try to find conservatives. Yeah, and they say there's a problem of conservatives not answering, or if you ask questions, you tend not to get conservatives that would answer the question anyhow.
Yeah. So if we discount the polls for not really, I mean, if you look back at 2016, that's what everybody was reading, if you want to call it reading the tea leaves, and they were, as we know, absolutely wrong. I mean, almost to a person, these pundits. So if we discard the polls as being, I mean, I heard somebody say today, there's no way, and I forget what state they were talking about, Biden is up like 10 points. It's just an absurdity. So not only does the left wing want to promote that there's a spread, people like to, vote for the winner, so to speak, but even are the polls accurate at all, because of the one out of 5 Republicans that don't want to say. What other?
Well, it seems like the enthusiasm for Trump is greater this time around than it was even in 2016.
Well, Trump's saying so. I know.
I mean, those rallies, the rallies were big in 2016, but people seem enthusiastic in places like Hawaii and California and other
some
places.
Of these blue areas, blue states.
Yeah.
Matt, what are any other statistics that are pointing towards Trump winning that you can?
I think Rasmussen reports is pretty reliable, but also the public pressure, because the silent majority no longer being silent, the media stations like CNN are having to put their polls in favor of Trump instead of Biden. They're like putting the percentage points up because they know very well that people are distrusting them. Even Democrats are questioning their own polls if Biden cannot fill up a classroom.
I know. And look, there was something, okay. And then also, well, no, this is a different subject. I was going to get on to the Hunter Biden deal, but let's kind of keep going on this for a minute. What other signs other than the polls are we seeing that Trump's really in the lead in these swing states, et cetera?
Well, I mean, I've got anecdotal evidence. I know someone who's a Teamster. He hates Trump. Is going to vote for him anyhow. We know someone else in the family who's you might call her flaming liberal. She's a young girl in her 20s, real short hair. And, she was over a relative's house this week, and she's asking about, why are you voting for Trump? And they're thinking she's feeling him out, this Democrat to, maybe blow up on him. All of a sudden, this liberal goes, I think I'm going to vote for Trump this time. So I think this is happening all around people.
Hey, I've got a good anecdotal one. My partner, Marcina, said that she's seeing Biden signs and she lives in a very nice neighborhood north of Chicago, seeing Biden signs in about 1 out of 10 neighborhoods, 1 out of 10 houses in her neighborhood. So her postulation is the other 9 are the silent majority that are voting for Trump. So I said, that's a great way to look at that, Marcina. I like that. So anyway, we'll see. But yeah. In other words, like where she's from, Matt, because because it's so, at least, I mean, the Democrats win all the time, right? All of her friends.
In her area, yes.
Yeah, all of her friends are Republican, but they don't really, because they're in business and they don't want to offend people, et cetera, they don't broadcast it. There's that anecdotal that you were talking about, Chris. Whether I'm going to be able to keep this crazy, we're going. I don't know how our colonial forefathers could walk around all day with these crazy wigs. But anyway, but hey, how's that for a good? I mean, so that's anecdotal that you've got that silent.
I think that's majority. Anecdotal.
Pardon?
Yeah, I think it's anecdotal. Chris kind of reminded me of a story. What was he saying earlier again? I just have to refresh me a bit. Just
what?
I don't know, man. I know what you.
Oh yeah, the Young Turks. Before Biden won his primary, the Young Turks are like, why is he winning? He's not going to beat Trump in the general election. So Democrats knew that Biden is not winnable. Even Obama asked Biden from the beginning not to run because he knew Biden's not winnable against Bernie Sanders.
I don't know the
Yeah,
answer.
you kind of lost me on that. Well, so anyway, guys, let's move on. Let's get the computer, Hunter Biden, the fellow who's flipped that, went to prison, one of, I guess, Hunter Biden's partners, right? And now he's producing something like 26,000 emails. Did you see that?
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. They could have 25 million emails. They may not do anything with them.
Well, yeah. Well, I know. We've got some congressmen stirring that up. What's the latest on the laptop? Has that literally disappeared, or what's the deal? Anybody heard?
No, well, I mean, supposedly there's copies of the hard drive. Supposedly the FBI told that computer store owner when he came and said, hey, I'm a little nervous about this. What's on there? They told him, well, don't tell anybody about it. He wanted to know if they were doing anything about it, because when it's a secret, he's worried, hey, if nobody knows, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah.
The FBI really is a disgrace. I don't like to pick on them.
They do. They just have constantly.
No, but if you think about the timing, they had this laptop during impeachment. This laptop mostly exonerates Trump from the impeachment stuff. Yeah. And they have this stuff and they just sit on it. I mean, that's really low down.
Yeah, no, we do. We've got one thing without a doubt, guys, is and we know it, but Trump being elected truly has exposed this. Look at Bush. The Bush family now is all in for Biden. Are you believing that?
Yes.
That just shows you that both sides of the aisle back then, the deep state didn't make any difference whether you were. I've never cared for the Bushes. I can tell you that. I did not vote. I voted for Reagan. I didn't care if George Bush Sr., came in after him, coattailed after him. Knew too much of his background to be willing to support him, much less his son. That to me, George W. was the perfect Manchurian candidate. Kind of fit that profile to a T. And now it's showing. I mean, literally. All in, all of his staff, all the Susan Rices, all those going for Biden. Unbelievable.
They were all in on the fire sale. They were selling this country out, and they were in on the fire sale. They were getting in on the money, on the trade, on the flip. As they got the jobs sold overseas to China, they were seeing that income. They don't care about the Rust Belt, Ohio, Pennsylvania. They just don't care. And it shows. Their children were on the boards of these companies, making money from the banks. I mean, Biden, I think, is probably one of the dirtier players. There's other players involved whose children were in the banks or in finance. But I mean, Biden was, these kids are making money on oil deals and gas deals.
I was about to say, we talk follow the money, but also follow the oil. Because if you look at Cheney, Halliburton being Bush's VP, and you look at how, hey guys, have you gotten to that chapter in Battle Hymn where it talks about 9/11 and everything leading up and the warning signs, and even what was it, Matt, was it Silvers who owned one of the buildings next to the I think building number 7 or whatever it was that the CIA
well, I heard maybe after the World Trade Center bombing, there may have been gold in the basement.
No, what was it? Was it Silverstone? Anyway, the owner of that building that, remember, the trades, both towers had fallen, and then later he gave the order, pull it down. They had already taken a look at what it would take, what kind of thermal nitrate or whatever. And the structure, as you guys probably remember, both those towers were built to withstand a direct hit by a major commercial airline. Remember, you probably read that at some point. And so they were looking at the steel structure, and the only thing that was going to take that down, they said, was a mini nuclear type of, weapon. And then so anyway, the point is, without diving too much into 9/11, where was I? Oh, well, with the Bush family and that whole setup. And if you've ever read the PNAC, which was the Plan for a New American Century, that it came out a year before 9/11, if you're familiar, when it
No.
talked about us needing another Pearl Harbor. Anyway, point is, guys, there's Bush. The whole family sold out and voting and publicly saying they're voting for Biden. But you know what? When Trump came in, guess what? That ended the Bush dynasty, right? That was over.
Pretty
They for
much.
sure
Lock,
don't
lock,
like him.
stock, and barrel.
Yeah. Well, the other side, they're going to play dirty and they're going to play right to the end, right to the wire. I mean, this is a race. I think this is a race for the presidency, and I think it's competitive only because of all the groups that are on the side of Biden. The Bushes being one throwing their weight behind them, the mainstream media. I mean, you could never get a Republican to overcome something like this Burisma laptop. In other words, if one of Bush's kids left a laptop somewhere, he would have been toast. If Trump's kids had left a laptop, similar situation, he'd be done. They'd nuke him. This could never, you could never get away with this. And in the day it happened, we were thinking like he's done, and he's not. They're just going to whistle right past this, and they already have. They moved on. They're on to the next story. And I hope that it comes out drip. Something else tomorrow, something else on Thursday.
I think it will.
Photos, more deals.
Yeah, I think it will. I loved what Trump said today at one of the rallies. He said, folks, look, nobody could have put up with what I put up with for 4 years. They'd be running home to mama, whatever he said it. He's so comical and so comfortable in front of these huge crowds. I enjoy, even though a lot of it's repeat, as we know, the stats and all that, there's just something in his charm and how he does it and it was why he draws these thousands of people. He's not only effective, but he's entertaining.
Right. I'm not very optimistic, though.
Oh
I'm not very optimistic. I think he's going to win, but beyond that, I think what you're seeing from the Democrats are playing.
Yeah.
Democrats are playing for a position in the future. They're not letting go of their position. Neither are the Bushes, and they're not going anywhere. So Trump will win this election, I think, but he will not break the back of the deep state. We'll see a couple of sacrificial people go away, go to jail, but I think the main structure is going to be there. I think a lot of the young people coming out of colleges and public education are really radical revolutionaries. I think that the framework is still there for this kind of a revolution to run again in another 8, 10, 12 years. It's not going anywhere. And I think Trump is just going to sail through. They're going to forget about it.
Let me ask this. Let's say Trump wins. What's your projection on, can he carry the House, get enough to get a majority? How short are we for a majority in the House?
I don't know, but he probably has some big coattails.
I gotta have somebody starting to do some data research for me in the background, Matt. I thought that was going to be you.
Yeah, I was gonna comment before Chris was, but yeah. Well, remember, why did Republicans lose 2018? Because many of the House Republicans who lost were not supportive enough of President Trump and his agenda. They were pretty much rhinos, like 3/4, I would say. I don't know exact percentage, but if Trump confirms Amy Coney Barrett as scheduled, then he will have full control of the Supreme Court, and we don't have to repeat Bush versus Gore. Plus, the FBI is now doing probes on mail-in ballot frauds. And I was going to comment on the Bush family issue. You know that Bush Sr. actually endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2016.
No, I didn't know that in 20, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, as for Hunter Biden,
he took Jeb down with one punch, so to speak. Trump did. Remember?
Yeah, as for Hunter Biden, what's found on his laptop as well? Child porn. It reminds you of Anthony Weiner, what happened to him. NYPD was really sickened by what was on Anthony Weiner's laptop. I could imagine how relief NYPD was when Hillary lost to Trump. So now they can prosecute more people like Anthony Weiner.
Maybe.
Bill Maher was saying on live TV days before the 2016 election, I'll effing kill Anthony Weiner if Trump wins.
Yeah. What I was getting at was, is there a chance, obviously we wanted to keep the Senate. Is there any chance, have you heard anything that we can take back the House?
No, I mean, I have. Yeah, I've heard speculation to that effect, but it looks like it's 197 Republicans to 230 Democrats right now.
Okay, so 33, a difference of 33, is that right? I'm not doing the math. 33?
35.
35. Okay. Okay.
But it is true that in the off election, Trump let those people go. He let the rhinos go. He didn't push for them. He endorsed other candidates. He allowed other candidates to run against him. He allowed himself to lose his Congress. He rather would have had, it seemed to me, a split Congress than have it stocked with the rhinos. So right now he largely has candidates that are Trump friendly. And because they're Trump friendly, I think that his coattails will be more extensive for them, more easily grasped onto. In other words, they've got a shot. They've got a shot.
Well, point being is the next 4 years, we were talking about the deep state, what's going to happen. And he's kind of alluded to it in his rallies that, we win, we're going to go like big tech. We're going to do something about big tech. I think probably if he has 4 more years and we could somehow get back the House, think about that, with the majority in the House and the majority in the Senate, he could get a lot accomplished. Because right now he's fighting Pelosi, as you know, that just tries to stop him at every turn. But I think he's going to go after that. I think he's saying, let's get this election done first. But there's a kind of saying with Trump, he never forgets his friends. But what else do they say? He also never forgets his enemies.
Right, revenge.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to tell you what, he doesn't have to worry about another election. He's already got his foot in the door. Think about it. He had to go in as a non-politician, move into the White House, get a feel for the whole darn thing. He's got a feel for that now. He's been there 4 years. I think we're going to see some real action when it comes to some of this deep state stuff, the big tech we were talking about, and the censoring, the Biden crime family, the Clinton crime family. Obviously, we'll have the majority in the Supreme Court now. I think we're going to see some of these.
The Republicans don't even seem to have a real understanding of why big tech is dangerous. They seem to fail to understand how they can rein them in. Their comments aren't all that enlightening or even seem helpful. They might be too big, and the Republicans, just the will to really do what needs to be done doesn't seem like it's there. I mean, that octopus needs to be brought down. It does. It's gonna kill us. It's gonna enwrap all of us. It is the Chinese social score system, just in a larger Silicon Valley wrapper.
Well, we got to get the election first, obviously, but I personally,
true.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some things happen that he could. Guys, look, he fought Russia from the day one. It's just absurd. I don't think America anymore believes that anymore with the whole Hunter Biden thing. Anyway, if we want to change some topics here, you gotta hear this. Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, this quote from her: "Trump threatens existence of all life on the planet." What are these people? It's not what are these people smoking. What are they taking? This is like taking LSD. Remember? What was the Harvard?
I haven't taken LSD in a long time. I don't remember.
No, but who was the LSD Harvard guy way back? Come on.
Leary, Timothy Leary.
Timothy Leary. Elizabeth Warren is Harvard, right? If I got that right, Harvard or Yale? She was one of these Ivy League.
Harvard, yeah.
Before she became a senator? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Timothy Leary, who was a Harvard professor, the LSD thing. It's not like, what are they smoking? It's like, what are they tripping on? Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, they're going to run this game, though. This is their game. And I know, but it's funny and it's a joke, but they are dead serious with this stuff. They plan to keep us in masks for the rest of our lives, so far as I can tell. We never get to take masks off. We need carbon allotments. You don't get to cut the trees down, so you have to have forest fires, and it's your fault because there's forest fires. They mean it, and they're not going to stop. I mean, this is their hustle.
Talking about the masks, so I've got a daughter up in Boston, and she's doing a residency up there. And I was talking to her, and I said, Ellie, we were on the phone yesterday morning. I said, I can't understand what you're saying. She said, well, Dad, I've got on a mask. And I said, you're outside. Take your mask off. She said, there's a $300 fine if I'm walking outside without a mask. Doesn't matter if anybody's around. Doesn't matter if she's out in the clear blue sky. $300 fine.
They don't plan to
mean-
let it go. They're going to drive this home, and we've had to capitulate to it. I don't like the idea that you can really fight this. You go out there and try to fight it. People are going to hit you. You're going to get thrown out of stores and you're going to get fined. It's so overwhelming of a tidal wave, this mask thing. And it's so stupid. It's dumb. You get sick. I know someone who is an ambulance driver. They're saying they're seeing a lot of people who have like fungus. They're getting like stuff that's growing in the mask and getting into their mouths and into their upper respiratory. It's not COVID related. It's just from a dirty mask. I mean, it's not good.
Catching something that's there's some kind of poetic something in that. Oh my gosh. So in other words, getting sick from wearing the mask, that's beyond. But there are no statistics, Matt, you got some. There are no statistics to back up this mask wearing, as we know. Yeah,
actually some showing that I think after looking up again, a statistic showing that COVID infections increase after mask mandates. And I will say that, one jogger was wearing a mask, his lungs collapsed. So you shouldn't wear them when exercising. Healthy people should not wear masks at all. Back in March or April, before Illinois, where I live, did the mask mandate, I was talking to a guy at a local grocery store. It's Jewel Osco. He was wearing a mask. He told me that it protects me from him than it does him from me. That was before the mandate. He had some sort of infection.
Yeah, but there's enough statistics out there now, and I think most intelligent people have seen them. When they look at the people that are catching COVID that wear a mask, people that catch COVID that don't wear a mask, the stats I saw, more people were catching COVID that had been wearing a mask than the ones that were not wearing the mask.
I think there was 70% of people had worn a mask 100% of the time and still gotten COVID. And so. So the argument still would be, but they do work. So they work like 30% of the time, and that percentage is really protecting us. That it's nuts. Once you believe in the mask, that's you're down. You go down the rabbit hole. You believe any argument that proves that mask works. It must do something. It must stop something. So therefore, it works.
Yeah, I still love the analogy of an epidemiologist now who said wearing that mask, you've heard me say it a couple of times, is like trying to keep mosquitoes out of your backyard with a chain link fence. I mean, she's, because we're talking about millionth of a micron. But anyway, gosh, there was something I was just going to say, guys, that was a good turn in a direction.
Well, I got something. There may really be something to the blackmailing of journalists and how they go along and how they get into the club. There was a journalist right now for the New Yorker who was caught on Zoom. He's in a conference call with other people at the New Yorker and other institutions, and he pulled his pants down. He thought he muted so that the camera was off and they couldn't see him, and he's playing with himself. These people, and
I saw that
a few years ago. There was a guy who went on Tucker Carlson, and Tucker just totally beat him up. That guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but he later was found with he goes on Zoom, and one of the windows open was some real nasty porno. So like, it's on film. And he said, that was research for an article I'm writing. What I'm getting at is we hear that these people are perverts. They show to us that they are. I mean, this is a track record of journalistic perversion. And we wonder why they go so hard against us.
Yeah, I was going to say no pun intended, but I won't say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well. Went over your heads, guys. Okay, don't worry about it. Anyway, okay, whatever. All right. It's okay. All right. Matt, what do you have there, buddy?
Yeah, besides, I already mentioned the Gateway pundit talking about the girl, pro-life girl in support of ACB who got beaten up. But also, you guys probably saw the video of Phil Anderson, a black Trump supporter, punched twice, and his top two front teeth were taken out by an Antifa supporter in a mask.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the left is so uncivil. They're nasty.
Well,
What's so interesting about that video is you got a black guy and a white guy. The black guy gets punched in the face and his teeth knocked out, and they retreat and they try to get out. And the white guy is sort of blocking for the black dude. black dude goes over the fence, then helps drag the white dude over the. I mean, so now Antifa's supposed to be anti-racist. Now
No,
here's two
I know.
guys at a free
They're the
speech rally
opposite of what the name
running
means.
for their lives together. I would say
Yeah.
that's a good metaphor.
Yes,
The
a nice
Antifa's
picture. That's a
insane.
good metaphor. Yes.
Yeah,
nice picture.
Alex, if anyone really thinks that Nazis were far right, I suggest you read the party platform titled 25 Points of the NSDAP. Nazis versus communists, it's no different from Trotskyites versus Stalinists. Far left politics is this cult religion. They favor collectivism over individualism. So they live in this fantasy world where we can agree with each other 100% of the time.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
And there's
No,
an article you should read titled 10 Signs Are Probably in a Cult. The website is blog.newsjournal.com.
So we've got the debates coming up Thursday. Biden's gone in hiding back to the basement, supposedly to get ready, right? Unbelievable. But here's the thing that really got my ire today. They have changed the format. Did you notice that it's now not going to cover foreign policy, international relations? Well, I mean, guess what? Trump's been nominated for what, 3 Nobels now, not 2, but 3 for what he's accomplished. And so, and Biden has nothing to show for that except to start opening up a can of worms about what? China, Ukraine, Burisma, et cetera, et cetera. What I don't understand is why the Trump administration spokespeople don't say, okay, fine, he's not showing up. No ratings, guys, not going to be there. I don't think Reagan would have showed up. You probably don't remember, but way back when Reagan was running, and I don't know, something happened with the speaker, something happened with the order, something he didn't like. And he said, tell you what, he said, I'm leaving. I'll come back when you get it straight.
I think they told him to turn. I think they turned his microphone off. They either turned his microphone off, or the journalist was saying turn his mic off, and he got real pissed. And he said, "I paid for this microphone."
Oh yeah,
He wanted some of the money for that speech, for the debate.
Yes,
that's a great clip.
It is a great one, because when he walked off, the leadership that he demonstrated, it just penetrated the audience. You could tell, and it's like, wow. This guy knows how to be in charge. He's not going to be led. You know, you remember it was just very, very, but he did it naturally. I don't think
worse than that. It's worse than that with Trump. They're going to have the ability to cut his mic off. That's what they're going to do too. They have the ability to cut off the microphone. He should not go in for that.
I don't think so either. I think he makes a stronger statement by saying, not only does he neuter the election debate committee, because now they're powerless, okay? Because now they don't have a debate at all right? But he's showing, he's demonstrating, I just don't understand why he doesn't do that. I would do it in a heartbeat. I'd say, fine, not showing up. I've got plenty of rallies to go to. Folks, tune me in. You can find me on any station and hear everything that we're going to do and we've done.
I don't think he's had the time to respond yet. I think that decision just came out this evening. But
apparently the spokesperson, whoever, forget the guy's name, that heads up that part of the White House communications, whatever, wrote a letter and said something was kind of weak sounding, like, we disagree with this, blah, blah, blah. Same old, but that's not strong enough to do anything. Because if Trump shows up, he's basically caved in. And it just doesn't seem like to fit, to me, Trump's profile. Like you said, cut off the mic, change the debate topics in Biden's favor, as we know, at least they perceive him to be in Biden's favor. I don't see where it's a win for him. I do not see where it's a win for him to do that debate Thursday night.
Although he could somehow turn it into a win. He's got some magic that way, but I don't like it either.
I don't think he shines. I'm not sure he shines with the debates, Chris. Yes, Matt, just a second. But
no, I don't think that's not.
Oh, because when you look at what he did with Samantha, I think his personality is such that he's easily put on the defense. When he's at his rallies, he's in charge up there, and he's a free flow. It's a free flow, and he enjoys it. The crowd loves it. But when these other situations are trying to put him in a corner, I think he doesn't He's a fighter. Doesn't understand one thing. He comes out swinging, and that's the non-politician in him. Let's call it like it is, because the polished politician that's used to the doublespeak politics has a way of deflecting that, and we're not. We're used to that more than we are a fighter. I prefer the fighter, but I don't think it's his best setting, is what I'm saying. Although I thought we were pretty.
I know a lot of people don't like it, and after the polls, after those debates, a lot of people come away saying they don't like it. I don't know if I do like it sometimes. What I think, though, is I've watched the news for a long time. You would see interviews from 2020, 60 Minutes, all these fake news outlets for the last 20, 30 years, and they would interview somebody and they would totally set them up and railroad them and edit and cut things out. The person, the Republican or semi-conservative, wouldn't be able to defend themselves, or the defense of themselves would not be put on tape. So what that is to me is in the debate is they can't cut that. That thing is running live. And he treats these people the way they deserve to be treated, because they are lowlifes. They are lying to us. They lie to us every single day, and they've done it for at least a generation, multiple generations. They spin the news whichever way they're running with the narrative. They spin it that way, and they deserve to be mistreated in public.
But the public, I think sometimes we overestimate the intelligence. Sometimes we underestimate the intelligence. I think people are savvy enough, if they're watching that debate, to make up their own mind, and they see when things are being manipulated. But hey, here's something, guys, I want to ask you about. Donald Trump, in terms of national polls, in terms of what they're telling us, is behind in everything but this. This is an interesting poll. Has a narrow lead with independent voters, which I think of as that middle ground. They're not really one way or the other. And we keep hearing how it's that undecided, if you will, that's probably going to make the difference. So what do you make of that poll, that he's ahead with independent voters? I think
that's a good sign for sure. I wonder, is anybody undecided at this point? How could they really find too many undecided voters at this point?
Well, I mean,
independent, there are independents for sure. I'm an independent or not,
okay.
I'm not affiliated, but.
Okay. But what does that, somehow I think there's a hidden gem in that statistic that, like you said, is in Trump's favor. But I'm just asking, anybody got any incisive read into that poll? Because I agree with you. I think it is in Trump's favor. But when you hear that the only poll he's ahead is in independents, not Democrats, the Republicans, we've already heard, only 1 out of 5 will even want to give their real opinion of who they're going to vote for, which means that silent majority is not telling pollsters. So now these pollsters, maybe without as much agenda, are going after the independents purely. And Trump is in the lead there. I have a feeling that's a huge statistic.
It's interesting. So what you're saying is they're finding the real heartbeat. The real heartbeat is that.
That's what I think.
Because the only ones they can get to admit it are the independent.
Exactly.
I mean,
we already know the far left Democrats. We know what they're going to say, okay? And we know that percentage. We just know that. The Republicans aren't, it sounds like, by any stretch, is apt to say how they're going to vote. But then we get these independents that feel a little freer to maybe give their opinion. And they're saying, you know what? I think I'm going to vote for Trump this time. I think that's probably huge.
I'll go with that take.
Yeah. That's. It
just makes me think. Can you think of how much, I guess, propaganda you would call it? We've been influenced by that. We are afraid to admit to a pollster who we're going to vote for. I mean, it's a common theme for the last multiple elections that Republicans don't answer the question. Now, why is that? Why is that? We don't trust strangers?
If I had to say, I would think, one, that the far right, the right conservatives are fed up with polls, number one, because they feel like they're going to be manipulated and they're what they really think is not going to count, that there's some guy. Number one. Number two, it makes you wonder the same thing of people not willing to put a sign in their yard. Are they now becoming a statistic, their household, their phone number, what have you, in a data bank they don't want to be in? I don't know. It does make me wonder, right?
Well, I mean, it seems like we've been cowed into not answering. I mean, we'll go vote, but we're not too proud. We're sort of ashamed. We're afraid in some ways to tell some random person on a telephone who we're going to vote for because we're afraid
Yeah.
of some kind of reprisal or
That,
to be
that's what I'm thinking, that there's, because, hey, look, at least right now, guys, when you go vote, you don't have to ever have told somebody how you voted. So there's that anonymity. But when you tell a pollster, I'm voting for Trump, I don't know. I don't know how to put my mind into somebody. I mean, I would gladly tell them I was voting for Trump, right? But if only 1 out of 5 people, Republicans that are expected to vote for Trump are admitting it, there's some telltale in that, but I'm not sure what it is. Matt, any thought?
Well, I really have no thoughts, but independent votes are like one of the most crucial. But there's
Yeah.
also 2 votes that decide the elections: state of Ohio and the Roman Catholic Church.
You mean 2 different demographics? So the Roman
Yes.
Catholic Church
And the state of Ohio.
and, well, is the state of Ohio, I mean, I know it's important, but is it
They always
really?
pick the winner since 1944, 48.
I know.
Since when.
Yeah, but there were a lot of, for example, in 2016, Chris, you say there were a lot of other factors in it. What, you're right, Ohio's been one of those swings, but is that also assuming that Florida goes a certain way? Because now you can't say, well, they also went with the winner in 2016, but there were so many states that Trump won, swing states, that had not, as I recall, gone Republican anytime in recent years, correct? So there
Well,
was
I do
more.
see that Trump won every state that Mitt Romney won in 2012. Then he expanded. Take a
That's
note.
what I mean. There were other, it was like an amalgamation. So it wasn't just Ohio. Florida went his way, Pennsylvania went his. So I don't think, what I'm saying is I think there's more play than just Ohio, but I know what you mean.
but it's kind of a
big time,
bellwether.
okay.
Obama won Ohio.
It is a bellwether. It is a bellwether. Yeah. How's it looking right now, poll wise? Ohio.
Well, if the polls were accurate, I would say it would actually go in Trump's favor. As I already said, Democrats are questioning their own polls if Trump has large rallies versus Biden can't fill up a classroom. And
Yeah.
the people like the guys, the Young Turks, they were saying, why are you letting Biden win the primary? He's not going to win the general. They were whining about it before Biden beat Sanders in his primary.
Well, we talked about that a couple of podcasts ago, and I think it came down to Bernie or Biden. Biden was establishment. Bernie's not. They just took the lesser of the two. I mean, Chris, would you say when it got to that point in the primaries?
They didn't want to run the socialist, but the energy was behind
That's
the
what I mean.
socialist in the party. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he's
so-
more than Biden's more than the establishment guy. I mean, he knows all the secrets. I mean, he's sort of he's at the center of the black hole of the corruption. He, in a way, he has to win the way Hillary had to win so he can keep a lid on the thing. I think that's why they ought to run that old guy.
Yeah.
I
I don't know
see
what.
Chris is saying, because Chris, you pointed out to 2 important factors. One, Biden would do a better job than Sanders continuing the 16-year plan, which is elect Obama then Hillary for 2 terms each. And number 2, do you know why the Democratic primary was over 25 candidates at the start? Because they think that running for political office, then winning it, will help them get away from justice.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it's
I
one thing
think
for
there's
sure.
something to that. I think that's a large part. I mean, Biden's so caught up in this Ukraine thing and the China thing, and all the corruption runs through him. They could have found some other candidate. I mean, I don't think that you're going to find that much corruption, the same kind of corruption with Bernie Sanders. I don't think he's making money off of international gas deals or shady Chinese.
No,
bank
he's
deals.
pretty true blue to what he has stood for, forever. I agree. Although,
Well, there's some question about taking money about the University of Burlington and
yes,
or UVM in
absolutely.
Burlington.
And
But
all
it's
of a
not,
sudden,
the level of corruption is nowhere near
it's not the
Biden.
same. But on a small scale, right after he conceded, even knowing that Hillary, that the DNC had manipulated it, guess what he gets to build right after that? You remember? His beach house. I don't know where the money came from right after. I mean, so, and then like you said, his wife's been embroiled in this whole whatever community, this University Community College, whatever it is up in Vermont. Okay, well, listen. we'll wrap it up for tonight, folks. We're going to keep diving into this every day. I think we're going to get new news. I still say that this October surprise is not over, and it's going to, you can either say hang Biden, sink his ship, call it what you want, but I don't think that's over yet. And I think at some point, even with the leftist news, big tech trying to suppress this, I think that I'm counting on the truth's going to come out on this. I think it's pretty clear to anybody that wants to know the facts that this is a deep, big cookie jar, as illegal as you can go. Probably nothing this bad has happened in our history that I know of. Obviously, major selling out at the presidential, at the White House level to Russia and China. I mean, my gosh. Supposedly our two big enemies, right? Supposedly. That's what we hear constantly. And like you said, Chris, it's like the exact opposite. What they've been accusing Trump of, it's like just reverse it like a mirror, right? I don't know. Anyway, crazy
Right.
stuff. Anybody want to finish up with anything before we sign off for tonight?
Well,
Matt,
as Joseph Goebbels said,
what's that?
yes, Joseph Goebbels, he said, accuse the opposition of what you yourself are guilty of.
Hey, that's a good closer right there. Exactly. The essence of propaganda, I guess, right? I love it. Yes. All right, folks, join us tomorrow night. We'll be back. Guys, good show. Thanks.
I enjoyed it.
Okay. So, hey,